Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good midnight, depending on where you are in the world. How are we all today? Oh, let me not have that happening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm becoming addicted to live streams. No, I just have this to work on. I was actually going to say this might be the last one for a little bit. They are fun to do, and there's other projects that I could do while live streaming, so I might do more. But I specifically said that I would live stream while working on this skirt, and it's about to go on hold for quite a while. So I was like, I better actually do that and do some live streams. So this might be the last live stream for a while. It might not. I really don't know. It will be the last one working on the stained glass skirt for a while, because we are going to stitch on the last butterfly. I got all of the other ones on. They were pretty quick to sew, which is why I was like, oh crap, I'm on the last one. I better live stream again. But yeah, once I get the butterflies on here, that's all like the animals that I'm doing. Animal Kingdom stuff. The rest is going to be like foliage and the background and everything. So the whole skirt is going to go on pause because I just have so many other projects I would like to work on. And I think it's a good idea to put long-term projects on hold sometimes so that you don't like grow to hate them. That's always nice when you don't hate your projects. So yeah, welcome to this live stream. Might be the last one for a little bit. Oh, Jan. I will say that's not entirely true, that YouTube has changed its algorithm so I get paid more if you hit the like button, subscribe, and check your notifications, and leave a comment. That's not true. That's not true at all. These lives are not monetized. I've chosen not to monetize them until they're VOD is the word I learned, video on demand, and then I monetize them and throw a few ads in every once in a while. But they're not monetized while they're live, so this is not for income. This is for fun and engagement and community and having good times. Everyone grab a project, grab a drink, a snack, some water. Hemming a skirt on a rainy day in Scotland. Ooh, rainy days in Scotland. I probably would not do super well living in a place where it rains all the time because I am very sunlight dependent. But I will say I miss the rain living in Southern California. It rains so rarely here. And sometimes I'm like, ugh. Even when it does rain, it's like, I don't think I've experienced a thunderstorm since living here. Maybe once. And I miss that sometimes. Like Florida, that was a daily occurrence. Just, 30 minutes of downpour. Woohoo! Hello, hello, hello. Greetings from Belgium. Hello from Brazil, from Sweden. I was gonna live stream later today to catch people in Australia, but I don't think that's gonna happen until it's cooler outside, because the joy of live streaming in the morning is that, it's cool enough still here that I don't have to have AC on or anything, but in the afternoon, especially in this room, this is the room that's loud when the AC is on. Yes, the phone holder is a soup bowl. Matt has an actual little stand for a phone, and I was like, is that in your office? Can I steal that? And he was like, no, I took it with me. So I was like, whatever. This works. It has a little mushroom top to this bowl, and it's adorable, and I need to use them. Never streamed myself, just wondering if it takes part of the creativity out of the making process. I have never streamed while doing a creative process, and I don't think that I would, because there tend to be very long stretches of me staring off into space silently when I'm like working on the creative part. So not that this isn't creative, but like today I have the butterfly already cut out. I know where it's going on the skirt. I'm literally just going to be stitching French knots. So it's not really, it is still creative, but it's not really part of the creative process. I know some people can stream like all the way through working on projects. I don't think I would do great with streaming the actual like creative process part of a project. I would only ever stream, at least I'm assuming at this time, when I'm on like the drudgery part of the project. Like, let's be honest. Not that we dislike it, but there's usually parts of projects where it's like, oh, I'm just sitting here doing some hand sewing now. Yay. So I think those are the fun times to stream because you get some company and some craft along time. And I don't know, in the future I might live stream some other stuff. Like the other day, well, not the other day, the other week, I guess, in a video on the second channel, I think, I was showing my, like my costume and fashion sketches from when I was back in high school. And someone was like, oh, those would be fun to like go through on a live stream. Just look at them and chat about them and maybe like choose one to recreate in real life in a video. So I might do stuff like that in live streams in the future. I don't know. But yeah, I don't think I would ever like live stream while trying to pattern something out because I wouldn't get anything done. Gridding for a new cross-stitch project. Winding up yarn for literally 3 hours. Woohoo! That sounds like fun. Working on finishing my first ever full-size quilt. That's awesome. Doing some EPP. Oh, I caught an Australian. Woohoo! Gonna be staying up late, I guess. Well, that's a specific question. Do you remember how much you add to the sides of your favorite pattern to get that extra swoosh? Probably never the same amount twice. It usually has to do with how much fabric I have. Like I'll put the pattern piece down and be like, how far can I take this before I literally run off the edge? Yeah, it's completely by vibes, by the amount of fabric. You know, there's a point where your slope is gonna get really diagonal and it's like, is that gonna hang right? Is that gonna be kind of weird? But even that, why not? Go for it, you might as well try it. Finishing off binding on an EPP quilt. We got some EPPers. Yeah, streaming the project execution rather than the conception stage. That's a great way to put it. I don't think I could stream the conception stage. That's the part that I drastically cut down in editing, and every once in a while somebody in a comment is like, you should show your full process. And I'm like, you don't want to see that. Maybe like 5 people want to see that, but like that's not how having a YouTube channel works. I can't put up 3-hour-long videos of mostly silence for the 3 people who want it. Crocheting a blanket for my sister's wedding, that's fun. Making a massive quilt for my aunt from all of her t-shirts from traveling around the world. That's so cool. I have thought of doing a t-shirt quilt because I have somewhere. Where did I put that? I have no memory of where that is in the house. Oh, there goes the puppy. Somewhere in my house, I have like a collection of, I would assume they're mostly t-shirts. T-shirts that I've saved mostly from like theatrical productions and from our dance recitals when I was a kid. So That might be fun to turn into a t-shirt quilt at some point. I don't know, I just never really want a quilt. But then it's like they're just sitting in a tub instead and you never look at them, so what's the point? Making a stitch book, that's cool. That's a good idea. Greetings from Costa Rica, working on embroidery for a costume. That's fun. Wonder if you have helped Matt with your power tools to help with some of the studio setup. My studio or his studio? We tend to help each other anytime we're doing any kind of like setting stuff up. It goes much better if we do it together. I am much better at measuring and marking and like doing the precision stuff than he is, and he's much better at drilling holes into the wall than I am. So we work very well together when we can, which is why, you know, back when I was working on my studio while he was not home, it turned into such a long project and was so difficult for me. It's like, yeah, I could figure all of this stuff out on my own, but I am used to having his assistance and his help. Like, we met working together, and I think the reason we clicked in the first place was because we work together so well. So it's just always nice to be able to work with him. But yeah, we help each other out anytime we're doing studio stuff for him or for me. I'm making a land shark shaped bag. Is a land shark a type of shark? Whatever it is, it's a shaped bag, so that sounds like fun to me. Who did I see? There was somebody on Instagram I found who makes like bag patterns. What was it? I want to say it was a penguin shaped bag that grabbed my attention, and I was like, I'm not much of like a bag or a purse person because, you know, I love me pockets and having my hands free, but it was really cute. So that's kind of on one of my like tier 3 lists, like make a shaped purse of some kind. Puppy! Yeah, he's always trotting by in the background. I'm currently making an exemplar needle book for a crafting group I'm part of, gonna teach how to slow stitch. That's such a good idea. It's such an easy way to show off all the different stitches. That's really cool. What are you working on these days aside from the stained glass dress? What did I just finish? I did the lampshade project that people in my test live stream voted on what I should do next. They voted between a macrame art piece and a lampshade. So I already finished the lampshade and I'm currently working on the macrame art piece. And I swear I did something in between those two things and I'm already blanking on what it was. Did I? Or was it just this? It might have just been this. And then my next project, once I finish the macrame piece, is a patchwork garment, because it's time to patchwork again. I'm really excited to start that one. But I want to get this stage of the stained glass skirt done, get this table cleaned up, because I'm going to need this table. Yeah, and then patchwork project, yay. Currently learning 3D modeling. Nice. That was the part of 3D printing that just like, did not work in my brain. I haven't drawn in a while. Great opportunity to get my sketchbook out again. I was just doing a doodle this morning and it was so nice. My last doodle was very long and slow, which was fun. It was a fun one. I was doing like willow tree looking leaves on a whole page. But I finished that one and I was like, I need to go back to like a really sloppy, messy, colorful, fun doodle. So I was coloring that in this morning and it was delightful. Crocheting a fall sweater for my great nephew. Someone can explain why I love sewing videos even though I have no idea how to sew. It's a vibe, man. Sometimes it's fun to watch things that you don't do because there's no like pressure of like this is the funny thing, but it can be really great to watch videos and see stuff that inspires you, but sometimes it can be really nice to watch stuff that you're like, oh, that's not my thing. I don't have to worry about being inspired by this. I can just kind of have fun. It works. "2 a.m. in Australia. Woot woot. Good early morning to you." We gotta get some of this stitching. His studio. We haven't done anything on Matt's studio in a while because it's pretty good to go in the small room he's in right now. We did originally talk about me making him the sound panels for the walls because I was like, that's not gonna be hard to make. I forget why I didn't. That was back when we were in the last house. He got like a whole, I think he just found like a good deal on some. So he just got like a whole collection of panels. So we haven't had to do anything in his studio in a while, but eventually when he converts the garage to his studio, that's like we keep debating on how much of it we want to do versus getting professionals to do it. It's always a debate with everything because they're like, we're not home renovation knowledgeable people, you know? Kind of always open to learning new stuff, but then we have to remember that like, we don't want to like mess anything up too drastically. So when it comes to like plumbing and electrical stuff, we're kind of like, on that. So yeah, I don't know how much of that we will DIY versus getting professionals. I don't know when we'll finally get around to even doing that. Hello from France, making sticks with ribbons at the end so people can wave them when I exit the church at my wedding. That's such a fun idea. It's gonna be so pretty. You should make sure somebody gets slow-mo footage of that. It would look really cool. Have you ever considered making a swing coat? I don't really know what that is. I have like a slight, like I've definitely heard the term before, but I don't quite remember what that looks like. A land shark is a character in a video game. Oh, okay. That would explain why I don't know what it is. I'm sure it's gonna look really cool though. Getting back into jewelry making. Woo! That sounds like fun. I'm procrastinating on actually starting the stitching. All right, we're pausing on me staring at the chat so I can actually start the stitching. Get ready for a weird angle. Oh no, just very stretchy arm. Yeah, okay, that's right. Threw my mind off because I switched which side of the screen I was on this time, and then I was like, whoa, everything is weird. Everything is weird. Alrighty, so skirt, location for the blue Adonis. Got it cut out last night. I did finally find some blue felt that's a little more accurate to the blue Adonis color, and then just totally went off book with the body color here because the body is technically also blue. Like it's fuzzy and it's clearly like gray or black on the skin. Can you call a bug skin? But like I think the hairs are all the same blue color as the wings, so it definitely comes across as being kind of the same color of blue, but I didn't really want to do it the same color of blue. Opinions really fast. Do you think I should get rid of the gray body I did like a purplish gray to kind of be reminiscent of blue and black mixed together. Does this look weird though? Do you think I should just do the exact same color of blue on the body? I'll give y'all a slight few minutes to generate opinions because I'm not sure I like it that much with the purpley gray body. So I could just do it out of the same blue. But then it's like, will that look weird? Will it look like it's all the same thing? The gray is nice contrast. I like the gray body. It looks fine. Stick with the gray. There we go. Sometimes you just need validation. We're sticking with the gray. Alrighty, so let's get rid of that. I generally start, no, that could probably stay there, with the body and work outward on the wings. So I need some gray thread first. I've been, rather than like using one needle and constantly switching thread color, which is what I usually do on projects. Like you'll see a lot of embroidery people will have like a bunch of needles stuck in their project with all the different thread colors they're using so they can quickly switch, which I think is a brilliant idea, and I've just never really gotten into it. So like on the Beauty and the Beast piece, I have one needle that I have been using on that piece for years. And I just switch the thread color every single time. And then this one, for the first time, I was like, you should just use a bunch of different needles. So I have like a whole, here I'll show you, a whole collection of floss over here. And most of them have a needle stuck in the top. But I finally like completely emptied out this package. So now I'm having to like steal needles from one so that I can put it on a new one. There's a lot of colors on this piece, so it would require a lot of needles. I'm gonna steal this one. But yeah, I mean, generally speaking, if you buy a package of needles, there's a bunch of them in there. So if you're working on like a big embroidery project, it is easier to just keep your needles threaded, especially if there's like 5 colors and you're constantly switching between them. Might as well keep the needle threaded and just be able to yank it off the side of your piece rather than constantly having to rethread your needle. She says, and she will never ever stop doing that on the big piece. It is funny sewing something massive with one needle the whole time. Somebody asked how to like sharpen their needles, I think last time. And I was like, I have never once thought about sharpening a needle. So I don't know. This guy I kind of placed near the bottom, although it's a different color of blue, so it doesn't really matter, but I didn't want to put a blue butterfly near the top because it'll probably be surrounded in sky tiles. And I was like, then it might blend in. But down here, it should be surrounded by plants, green, stuff like that. So I feel like it'll stand out a little bit better. And in the same way, the green butterfly I did, the emerald swallowtail, I tried to place him near the top so that it would definitely be visible. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Cool. We are getting a little crowded here because I'm trying to keep a bunch of stuff on screen. Okay, that works. Several people have asked like how I hold the pieces on. Literally like this, just with my fingies. Every once in a while when there's like 2 or 3 pieces that the placement relative to each other really matters, then I'll pin a few of them on. But when you pin them, they're not laying quite flat. So you kind of have to take that off and redo it and check it. Like you can't sew the piece on while it has a pin through it, or it will not actually be flat and in the proper position. So I find it easier to just hold it with my finger and then sew it on. You could definitely glue them on with like glue stick and stuff. I just tend to avoid using glue. Not my jam. And that's just a personal preference. It's nothing against glue. I just don't like sticky stuff. But yeah, it's not too hard to just hold it where you want it and then throw your little French knots. If anyone is wondering, I'm using 3 strands of your regular old 6-strand cotton embroidery floss, 3 strands at a time, so I'm just splitting all of them in half, and then I am doing 2 wrap French knots for the whole thing, kind of varying up how many I do. Just kind of going with the feel of the moment. Like, I think some of the smaller pieces on the top, I definitely used a lot more French knots, like a lot more securing points for it. And then some of the larger pieces down here on the skirt, I was like, meh, this is enough. It's fine. But yeah, kind of in between every knot, I try to lay it flat again and make sure that I'm not stitching in any lumps, because the fabric I'm stitching on, despite being non-stretch, has ease, especially like on the bias and stuff. So stuff will shift around and you kind of have to repeatedly check that you are not moving the piece in a weird way. Felt also bends very easily, especially the thinner your piece is. So you just kind of have to repeatedly check, which is why I do this on a table rather than like on my lap or something. It needs to be on a flat surface so I can be constantly checking to make sure that I got it flat. Bam, one done. And that is all I needed this color for. So it can now go in my color stash. Where's my end? I think this color of floss is a little bit darker than the color of felt, but I'm not that picky, quite honestly. Are you going to decorate the butterflies with jewels, embroidery, etc.? No, 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 no. This is all about the felt itself, the mosaic, the tiling. You know, as much as I love doing embroidery, I am not a big embellishment on clothing type of person. I do not find myself often wanting to add any kind of embellishment to clothing, which granted, you could say that all of the felt tiles in general here are embellishment. But yeah, I know there are definitely people who would like, the natural thing for them would be, I'm gonna bead this, I'm gonna put sequins on it, I'm gonna like add something more to it. I personally feel like the tiling and the felt itself is, 1, enough, and 2, kind of more striking if you don't add anything to it. Like, I don't know, it's like it should be the focal point, I guess, for me. So yeah, no, not at all. You are completely hidden behind the chat. Oh. I did not know it automatically put the chat on the video itself. I thought it shrunk the video and put the chat on the side. That's good to know. An emery board can sharpen needles. There you go. Fine sandpaper. Yeah. I just don't know that I've ever used a needle enough to actually feel like it's dull. Like usually when I'm struggling with getting a needle through fabric, it's because that fabric is already covered in embroidery stitches, or it's a weird fabric, or like the few times that I've tried to stitch with like sticky interfacing. Ooh, can't stand that. Anything sticky, trying to get a needle through it is just so unpleasant. Oh yeah, the strawberry on those traditional tomato pincushions. You're supposed to like stab it repeatedly, and that's a needle sharpener. I'd forgotten all about that. I haven't had one of those tomato ones in ages. I still don't know why it's a strawberry paired with a tomato. I feel like somebody made a video about that. Am I crazy? Why do I have a memory? Clearly not a clear memory of what they said, but I have like some memory of somebody making a video about why the tomato is a tomato and why the strawberry is a strawberry. Don't know who it was. I think it's simply because they're both red. I mean, yeah, they want to use the same fabric, so. This is the stained glass skirt for the person who asked. Do you have a P.O. box or something for viewers to send things? I do. I don't like to advertise it, but it is in the description of every video on the main channel. It's not for me. Oh, I assume you're talking about the chat. There were a bunch of just not for me, not for me, not for me. I was like, what's not for you? I've already forgotten about that. Interesting. So it must have something to do with like the specific setup that people have. Might be a TV thing as opposed to being like on your phone or on a computer. But I will keep that in mind the next time and put myself back on the other side. Ooh, we have a strong opinion that the strawberry is not a sharpener, it's only a cleaner. Which is, I think, entirely fair because I have never really felt like it did anything. But it will, yeah, like if you have anything sticky on your needle, it will take that off. I need a voodoo doll pincushion sharpener. That'd be fun. Body double for workouts. That's gotta be nice. I just don't work out. But like when I have tried to work out, it is one of the most boring things possible for me. I think because I am so used to having both my hands and my brain busy. Like if you look at the way that I and a lot of other people multitask, it's like I'm doing a craft in my hand, pardon, and I want something to activate, occupy my mind. You know, I want a TV show playing or a podcast or something like that. So then when you're exercising, it's like neither of those things are happening and I am bored out of my brain. It is not good times for me. Even like I would try like reading while I was on the treadmill back when I was in college, and it still didn't feel like enough because my hands were just sitting there doing nothing. Is good times. Can't wait to hear why you picked a Quetzal. It's your national bird of Guatemala. That's cool. I'll go ahead and tell you why. It's because it's pretty. It's so pretty. You could try to do a few tacking stitches on pieces. I could, but like it's not that hard to just hold them in place. I don't really have any trouble with it, so. Speaking of which, let's sew some more. We're on to the blue now. I will say this blue felt, it's very hard to find blue that is more like blue like this as opposed to sort of like turquoisey or teal leaning. So I went to Michael's and all of the blues there was either like dark royal blue or it was all towards the turquoisey direction. So I just got this online and it is like some very cheap thin felt. It is not good quality, which is fine. It's like a tiny bit of tiles on the whole skirt. But I'm like, why is that? Why is blue felt always leaning in like the turquoisey direction, or like their mid-tones of like blue just were so hard to find? I do not know. Mysteries of the craft world. Cool. There's definitely somewhat a lack of precision to this process. Like there are times that I have something perfectly laid out on the little test felt here. And then when I go to sew it on, I just shift one piece a little bit and that shifts the next piece and it shifts the next one after that. And then eventually you start having to like cut some down and then you have to cut a whole new piece and it's like, meh, whatever. It's fine. I just don't really mind that being part of the process. But generally when you have the first knot on, so it's just secured right there, you can still move the whole thing around. So that's usually what I try to do, is just make sure that wherever you're putting the first knot in is good enough where you want it. And then you can kind of readjust, but it's already held on at least. So then it's easier to adjust it to where you really want it to be and not have to like completely hold it on yourself, I guess. I don't know. Just like little tricks you learn over time of doing this. I think everybody would have their own method in the end, the thing that works best for them. Ooh, yeah, you can tell that this felt, the needle like struggles to go through it, which it did not struggle going through the gray felt. So that is entirely because this felt is weird. Not the fault of the needle. It's not your fault, little needle. You're doing great. But yeah, there is a lot of that in between every stitch. Just like some light patting gets it where it needs to be. And then yeah, I am kind of like stabbing the needle into the table. It's not actually going into the table at all. You can't see marks. It's fine. Sometimes people are like, oh no, you should protect your dining room table more. And I'm like, this dining room table works for me, kids. I'm not gonna sit here and treat it like it's a treasure. Cool. Next one here. I kind of did weird tiles on this one. I'm not sure how much I like them, but we'll stick with it. I didn't want to do this as one whole tile, but then I didn't have any like specific place. I think it would have been better if I had just done like a curve right here. But I was like, let me try just doing like some straight lines and see how I feel about it. It's fine. It's one butterfly on the whole piece. It does kind of look interesting. If you want to exercise and use your brain, go back to ballet. I have thought that I should really go do a ballet class again. The thing is, I didn't like ballet when I did it as a kid. Like, quite frankly, I hated it. I just wanted to perform and be on stage, so it was also the only thing we were allowed to do for a long time. But now, as an adult, I'm like, I think I might enjoy it more, especially doing it, you know, more randomly and just when I want to and for fun. And not that there were really any stakes to it when I was a kid, because I never thought, oh, I'm going to be a ballerina. Me, my nickname was the Elephant, so that wasn't going to happen. But yeah, I don't know, I think going back as an adult would be kind of nice, because I do now, kind of like kids who are forced to play piano when they're kids and don't like it at the time, I do now have an appreciation for the poise and the grace and like the rhythm and everything of ballet, which is always what I preferred. Like doing a, now I'm going to forget all the French terms. Pas de grace? I've really lost the terms. You had like a specific type of movement sequence that was like this slow, beautiful, a lot of arm movements to it, usually an arabesque thrown in there. I really enjoyed doing those, and it was when we got to like changement, which is just jumping up and down, then I was like, why? Why do I have to do this? I'm a low energy person, so I liked the graceful, smooth parts, anything that was very flowing. And then when you got to like, now we're gonna jump and leap, woohoo, I was like, I hate this and I don't want to be here. My other nickname was the Tornado. Ballet was good times for me, y'all. There are so many dance styles you could try. Yeah, I ended up trying all the different dance styles, not all of them, but a lot more, because eventually, my mom let me switch to jazz. Wahoo. So I did a little bit of that before I graduated. Did a little bit of more lyrical stuff. And then in college we had ballet, tap, jazz, and lyrical, I think. And then of course we were doing lots of like musical theater style dancing in the shows themselves. So I have done much other styles of dancing, and I did prefer them. Although I will say I think doing ballet for 12 years first gave me a really good foundation for all of that stuff. It also really gave me a solid foundation for rhythm, like musically speaking, because that was the only thing I could actually do in college when it came to oral skills. So I have to say that very clearly, oral skills. There's a class if you're like in any kind of music-based degree. There's a class you generally have to take called oral skills, where you're kind of learning how to like sight read music. It's a lot of like learning how to identify pitches and the spaces between the pitches and all of this stuff. Like the tests would literally be like, they'd play a note on the piano and you had to identify what that note is, or they'd play a sequence and you had to identify it. I was terrible at it. It is the reason that I lost my 4.0 GPA, and I'm still bitter about it. I was really bad at it because I didn't have any background in that area. So then like musical theater degrees were known in general for like struggling with the actual music classes. It was just a hilarious trope. But most of them really struggled with music theory, which I did not struggle with because to me it was very scientific. Music theory is kind of the science of music. And I'm pretty good with anything that's like, here are the rules, follow the rules, memorize the rules, repeat the rules. That's always been pretty easy for me. So I had no trouble in music theory, but then a lot of the musical theater kids had been in either band or orchestra when they were growing up, so they had learned to play an instrument at least a little bit. And that greatly helped them in oral skills, and they didn't struggle as much with that. I didn't have that background, so I struggled hardcore in oral skills, literally cried in front of the teacher during my first class. And he was like, that's when he literally looked at me and was like, well, some people just will never be good at oral skills. And I was like, you're giving me a grade based on something that you have just told me I potentially can never be good at, which was true for me. Like the more I practiced, the worse I would get. This is why I'm still bitter about it. But when we got to round 2 of that class, we started doing the rhythm stuff where you had to identify, like, you had to like write out rhythms based on what you heard played. And it was hilarious because all of the sudden, all of the other kids started struggling. And I was like, oh no, I'm finally kind of okay. This is fine with me. And it is 100% because of growing up dancing. Rhythm was not hard for me. I was like, yes, rhythm, count it out. You know, like being on the beat is just something that I had to do my whole life. So it wasn't nearly as hard for me. But then weirdly, like everyone else started struggling with that. So it was such an interesting experience to see how everybody's background, whatever they took, whatever they, practiced when they were kids, how that affected them in these college classes. But yeah, all of that to say, dancing through my whole childhood really helped me with rhythm, didn't help me with pitch. I'm a belly dancer and my ballet training from childhood really helps a lot. I imagine. I did pole dancing for a while and the ballet training really helped that. I think in one of my first classes, the teacher was like, did you take ballet as a kid? And I was like, yes, I did. Do you see my turnout and my great posture and my head lifted for a kiss? Pas de bras. There's the term. Tai Chi. Yeah, I've thought that Tai Chi would be fun to try. It's all very flowy. I love traditional peasant folk dances. That's always fun. We did like English country dancing once in college, and that was a joy. It was lots of fun to try. Being bitter about losing out on a 4.0 GPA is so freaking relatable. Right? It wasn't my fault. He literally told me, you can't get any better. I was like, that's not fair. Oh, God. Y'all, I did really well with the structure of being graded. I'm one of those people that like, also his job is to teach you. But no, he had a point. Like he was accurate in that. I will say he wasn't the most sympathetic teacher, but like he was accurate in that. There are just some people that like you can't hear and identify pitch, and I never could. Like in choir and everything, I really struggled with being able to sing the harmonies. I had to like listen to someone else sing the harmony first, and then I could mimic them. But like I never learned to sight read music, ever. Cheated my way all the way through choir, never sight reading. I learned to stand next to somebody who was a loud, confident singer, so I could mimic them. But then like Matt, The dude, he swears he doesn't have perfect pitch. I swear he does have perfect pitch. He can just immediately identify a note. He can like be thinking of a song and then be like, yeah, it starts on this pitch, and he's right 9 times out of 10. He can sing the harmony to anything like the first time he hears it. That's just like, he has the ear for it and I don't. And yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily something you can train yourself to have if it's like genetically not there. I'm sure I could train myself to get better at like singing harmonies and everything, but it was a really weird experience because obviously I cared a lot about my grades. So at first I tried really hard to get better at this, and there are all sorts of like ways to practice, and like there are whole websites and everything that will help you practice oral skills. And it was the weirdest experience because I would sit down to practice and like at the start, I'd be okay. And then 15 minutes later, I was doing worse. And then 30 minutes later, I was doing atrociously. Like the more notes I listened to, the worse I became at identifying them. Or it's not necessarily always notes. Sometimes you're identifying like the gaps. But I'd be like, you know, I'd have like 75% accuracy rate, and it would drop the longer that I practiced because my brain would just like muddle everything. And it was so weird. It was a humbling experience, honestly, because I was used to being able to be better at things. You know, I was used to the very straightforward concept of like, I'm not good at this, so I will practice and I will get better at it. And like, that's why I cried in front of him, because I was like, I am practicing. I am trying so hard and I'm getting worse. And like, what do you do about that? And yeah, I mean, ultimately, I just think it's kind of unfair to have a class where you are grading people and affecting their college GPA and everything when the class is something that some of them just like can't be better at. But at the same time, it was a good recognition of the fact that there are people who struggle in other classes and who just can't get better at other things. And I was just a little snobby about that because I was used to being able to get better at whatever I wanted to get better at. And yeah, it was humbling. Oh God, come through. And ultimately, it was fine because guess what doesn't freaking matter in the entire rest of your life? Your college GPA. No one cares after you graduate. I usually say I can carry a tune just in the wrong bucket. That's hilarious. I love that. Pitch fatigue. Yeah, it was literally like pitch fatigue. Like the more notes I listened to and tried to identify, the worse it got. My perfect 4.0 was also ruined by a music class because of pitch and notes. Yeah. My choir director when I was in high school ended up having to surround me with others singing the same part. Seriously, I didn't want to draw attention to myself, so I tried to make sure that nobody ever knew. But like, I learned to do that for myself because I couldn't hear stuff. And there was this girl who, well, you don't know her, so I guess I can say this. She wasn't necessarily the best singer, but she was such a confident person and such a confident singer, which is really exactly what like choir teachers always want. They're always like, I'd rather you confidently sing the wrong note so that I can hear that it was you and I can correct you. And so many people will not do that, me included, because we're like, please don't look at me, please don't correct me, please don't notice me, like you don't want to be embarrassed by being called out as the person who was singing the wrong note. But like ultimately, it's their job as a choir director to figure out who's singing the wrong note and correct them. So this girl, I learned to stand next to her a lot because she was loud and she was confident and sometimes she was wrong, but then we'd find out that she was wrong. So she was like a really good one for me to sing off of, for me to copy, because I could always hear her. Still appreciate her to this day for her confidence. I'm starting to get the coffee shakes. Hello, I can't believe I found you live. You make it sound like you've been searching through the jungle. I'm here, I'm live. My nephew could only play saxophone by ear. I am so jealous of people who learn how to play instruments by ear. I can't imagine what that's like because I don't have that kind of brain. I took an art class in college undergrad and she told me I should drop her class because I couldn't draw very well. That's sad to me. Because drawing is a pretty subjective, I'm pretty sure is the right word. Yes, subjective skill. Like the oral skills thing, if he played an A and I called it an F, I was wrong. You know, it was something I couldn't get better at, but it was like a hard, specific thing. But like to take a drawing class and receive a poor grade or be told that you shouldn't take the class or you should drop out is, in my opinion, rather disappointing. I also took a drawing class, I think my junior year of college, because I wanted to get better at like drawing for costume design and stuff. Like, it's not life drawing because you're not trying to like realistically draw a person. You don't need a nude model. It's kind of like rendering though. Like you're trying to kind of accurately display clothing and how that moves and everything. So I took a drawing class, or I signed up for a drawing class thinking like, I'm gonna get better at like looking at very specific, like how to render objects realistically. That's what drawing is, right? That was not what drawing was. Yeah. But that teacher at least like was very open to things. He mostly gave me a little sass when I would be like, I'm gonna realistically draw this thing. And he'd be like, that's not what we're doing in this class. But we were like smudging charcoal around on things. He had us like painting with ink. And I was like, isn't this painting? And he was like, no, it's drawing. But it did, like, I'm glad I took that class because it taught me to like lighten up and observe things differently. And yeah. But I did like momentarily think about dropping it because I was like, this is not, you're not teaching me how to render. I wanted to learn how to accurately render things. But yeah, drawing is pretty subjective, unless it was literally a class where they were like, here's a flower, draw it accurately or you get an F, which would be an interesting class. It matters to me in reference to college GPA. It does still matter to me in the back of my head. I'm still very much care about both my high school and my college GPA, but yeah, doesn't matter to anyone else. What almost broke my GPA was multivariable calculus. Ooh, that would have broken me. I mean, let's be real. I kept my GPA because I made a bunch of sneaky choices, like testing out of math so that I never had to take another math class. It would not have gone as well if I had had to take a bunch of math classes. Although I did decently okay at science classes. Honestly, part of me is like, that's a shame. I should have taken a math class with a teacher because I wasn't necessarily like great at science either, but I took science classes with teachers and it was a different experience. In case you're new here, I was homeschooled my whole childhood. But because I tested out of math, I have never in my life taken a math class with a teacher to explain things to you and to actually show you things. I've never had that experience. So I continually say I'm bad at math, and I'm like, I might have had a wildly different opinion of math and my abilities with math if I had had a math teacher or multiple math teachers throughout my life. Which is kind of the interesting thing about being homeschooled. And of course, there are various ways to be homeschooled, and in some of those ways you do have a teacher. But being homeschooled the way I was, I learned a lot of really helpful stuff, like how to learn from books and how to teach myself things. But there are some things that I'm like, would I have a very different experience with that skill or that subject if I had had the option of having a teacher teach me that instead of having to just learn it from a book? There is no right answer, though. It's different for everyone. Ooh. I do not like this felt, y'all. I will be happy when this butterfly is done. And I don't think I'll use this felt for anything else if I can avoid it. It's just like really thin, but then I think like overly packed together. So it's not as aerated as felt normally is, I guess. I don't know. I don't know much about the qualities of felt. I was a writing major in college. I had to take a Design 1 class that was specifically meant to weed out people who couldn't hack it in architecture. Goodness. College is weird, y'all. Okay. Back when I was a kid, we had a class where we had to read a music sheet and sing the note names on pitch on rhythm. I would not have done well in that class. That's for absolute sure. Oh, lordy. Would have failed hardcore. I learned to read music young, took violin at 6. Jealous. But only learned notes by finger position, not by ear. Yeah, that's the interesting thing, is like depending on how you learned music, did you learn it by ear? Did you learn it with a specific instrument? Did you learn it from reading sheet music? Like everyone's experience of music and like their knowledge about it, and yeah, it can all just be so different. Music is fascinating. All right, we've got all the blue from one side. This camera is still washing out, and I'm like, dude, I put you on a low setting because I knew the table would be black. Sometimes it tries too hard to make things seen. Okay. Should I do the other blue or should I go ahead and add the white? This is going, well, it feels like it's going pretty fast, but that's because I'm Talking a ton. My sister got all the music genes. It's always so unfair when in the same family, like one person is great at something and then the other person isn't at all, and you're like, we couldn't have split that up a little bit? Share the genes. Drawing is both very teachable and very subjective. I agree. I mean, I think I learned more about drawing from the design class I had to take for my theater major. So it was kind of a general theater design class taught by our theater tech professor who taught, we didn't have that many professors because our department was very small. I think we had 3. We had like tech, directing, and acting. And then like anything that was not specifically those things, they kind of generally covered. But our tech professor at my college was just an incredible person, extremely skilled, extremely talented, but also just like such a nice man and like calm. And he was incredible. I was very lucky to have him as a teacher. And I took pretty much every single class he taught. So his design class was great. We did a lot of things to really inspire creativity. Like I remember, I think this was in that class, like listening to a song that he played and writing based on it. Maybe that was in our playwriting class, but like writing a paragraph inspired by whatever song he played. But then he also would teach us just like very basic skills of like, here is a sphere. Do you see where the highlight is and where the shadow is? Like, draw a sphere. Where does the shadow land according to where you've decided the light comes in? If the highlight is hitting here, like he would teach you such technical things. And I think I learned most of the technical stuff that I know from him. But then he would also really inspire like creative thought and exploration and stuff. I hated choir, but was requested to join. I was requested to join, but all my friends were higher pitched and I was stuck on my own. Ooh, all the people always wanting to be sopranos. I was the one who my voice teacher was like, you're not technically an alto. You're not even close to being an alto. And I was like, yeah, but I don't want to be a soprano. So I'm gonna pretend to be an alto. And he was like, you don't technically have the lower range to make you an alto. You just don't want to sing high. And I was like, that's fine. I think technically a mezzo soprano. Yeah. But I was so happy to be in the alto side where you're back there singing like la, 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 and the sopranos are over there doing their whole melody. I was like, no, no, no. Give me that basic. Sorry, yeah, I was way far back in the chat. This mic had plenty of battery, but it just died. So give me a second. I will fix that and be right back. Oh lordy, y'all. How long was it silent? I'm seeing 7 minutes. Oh Lord. I lightly mourn all the stories that were told but will never be heard. Someone can come in post and lip read that whole section. Thanks for sticking around. I shouldn't go so far back in the chat. This is my problem. When I sew, I stay like really far back in the chat and then I don't like zoom down to the bottom and I don't have any concept of how far back in the chat I am. So, but I will say, when everyone screams about it like that, that's the reason I noticed, because there were so many new messages that the chat was like, you're way too far back, and it tried to start shoving me forward. So it does legitimately help when just everyone screams about something. But I will try to stay a little further forward in the chat so that that doesn't happen again. Genuinely, I turned these mics on though and checked the battery and they were both totally full, so I don't love that that one died as fast as it did. It's never a good sign. Anyway. Boop, boop, doo. At least we all had fun while waiting and speculating. Yeah, it becomes a bet. How long is this going to go on? Before you notice. You seemed so happy about whatever you were talking about. And now we'll never know because I have 100% forgotten. It was something. Not to worry, we made a sport out of trying to get noticed. It was very helpful. It worked. I will say, I'm behind on this chat where I'm like looking at it on my phone over here, but I can also see the chat on the computer, which is not scroll down, I can see it as in it's in my viewpoint. It's far enough away and on a black background that like I can't read it unless I do a little squinty like that. But I was noticing like a lot quicker and shorter messages on there. We live and we learn, y'all. I am going to hold this one on with a pen because it's just a weird place for my hand. Ghost of whips past, drained your batteries. How dare they? Do you have to use a mic to stream? I think y'all would prefer it, because if I'm not using a mic, then you're gonna hear laptop audio, which, if anyone was here for the very first test stream I did, was the audio I was using, which one, the further away I am from the laptop, the quieter it will get, and two, the microphone in the laptop is coming from the laptop, so you can also hear the fan in the laptop that is running at top speed. So, you know, if you like your sound being like you're in a wind tunnel, I could just use that. I think most people would prefer that I use a good quality mic. I could theoretically use a mic that plugs in and does not operate off of batteries though, but I genuinely don't have one of those. All of my mics are either battery operated or have to be charged. Because I haven't had a large enough feeling of need for like a plug-in, you know, the kind of mic that you see like podcasters use, or like people who have like commentary channels and are just sitting in one place while they film. You can get like a nice like desk mic that plugs in. I am never sitting in one place while I film. I am, obviously, but I'm also moving around like crazy. So I've never felt a big enough need for one of those mics to actually get one. That being said, there is a room in my house that is full of sound equipment. So does Matt probably have one? Yes, probably. I mean, Matt did say when he gets back, he was like, I'm gonna like make your live streaming setup so much better. And I was like, you do that, honey boo boo. In the meantime though, I will do what I am personally capable of in the tech sphere. So, you know, a month from now, if I'm live streaming, it might feel much fancier. Oh. So if we post lots of emojis and nothing else, it would help to see it on the big screen. Yeah, like generally, I mean, I did start to notice just because it was a bunch of, like people were having like long conversational messages and then it was all of a sudden a bunch of short, which does stand out. Applique on the stained glass skirt. Yes, that is what we are doing at the moment. I thought my battery had died. Yeah, it is always like, as soon as there's silence, you're always like, it must be on my end, right? If I'm ever listening to a video that just suddenly goes silent, it does make you immediately look up and be like, what died? Something has happened. Ooh. I'm writing down recipes right now. That's fun. Do you have the placement of the felt on skirt, chalk, whatever? No, especially right now when I'm just doing like the birds and the butterflies, I can kind of put everything wherever I very well want. From having done the top, it does get more difficult when you're starting to fill in around existingly done pieces, but I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. I mean, I figured it out on the top, and I figured it out on the top while sewing in a moving car, so I think it will be much easier to figure out here. But yeah, most of it is just eyeballing it, fixing things where they need to be fixed. My laptop always sounds like a wind tunnel. Yeah, this one is starting to. It's getting old. And by old, I mean not that old at all, but it's getting old according to the way technology is made nowadays. So I don't really use it for much. It's kind of really just my TV replacement because I prefer to watch things on a laptop screen fairly close to me rather than on a TV further away because bad eyes. So it hasn't gotten much use other than watching TV shows and YouTube videos until I started live streaming, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, I had such an easy life, and now suddenly I'm being put back to work. Tough potatoes, laptop. Got pulled out of retirement. And I could theoretically stream from my much nicer desktop computer. I would just have to attach a webcam to it or, hook up the camera. But I ain't moving that thing around, so that would mean we would be stuck in my office, which is the place that has the least things in it and is the least comfortable and set up for doing anything. So the laptop will have to suffice. There was a pop before your audio went out. I know that pop well. I've had mics die while I was recording numerous times, and I also don't notice it. So then I just go to start editing the video and I'm like, oh no, my sound is gone. That's great. And sometimes it's sound that I can't replace because it was, while I was working on a project and now the work is done. I can't go back and undo the work to pretend and fix it and everything. So, I'm sure if you've watched my stuff, you have seen all of the various videos throughout the years that have had sound issues. I think there should just be warning bells on microphones when they're about to die. But everything is kind of made with the assumption that you have some sort of professional setup with a sound guy staring at your microphone levels, and I'm like, honey boo boo, you gotta start making things for us YouTubers who are working alone in our bedrooms, trying to simultaneously do everything themselves. It's like when your bobbin runs out. Some machines actually do warn you about that, and I'm like, I need that, but for microphones now. I need an actual audible siren going off to be like, your mic's gonna die in 5 seconds. Okay, so here's a good example of how things kind of change because I'm not being super precise with this. So now with where I placed this wing right here, this piece is technically a little longer than I want it. Ooh, actually, do I take this back? I possibly take all the back. I just shifted it a little bit and now it fits. But that's how it works. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I put this wing on a little bit lower than it was over on my piece here. And so then I just trim off the other piece to fit. Sometimes you can just slightly shift them and then all of a sudden it works, which is what just happened there. It's not precise. Pardon me again. It doesn't have to be precise. Are those French knots? Yes, they are. They are 2-wrap French knots. We got lots of people doing EPP. I'm sewing section 5 of 6 for an EPP Christmas tree skirt. Sounds like you'll be done in time if you're on 5 of 6, unless it took you 5 years to do those 5. Matt comes back a month from now, Charlie live streaming with a full-on sound crew with a boom mic operator. Only if Matt will volunteer to be that boom mic operator. Have you ever tried couching, which is slowing down strings of seed beads? Well, couching is an embroidery stitch that, yes, I have tried a lot. I actually really like it, where you just, it's any stitch where you're like using the thread to hold down something else, which is, I assume, why it applies to doing seed beads like that. I've never done like beading of any kind, so I haven't tried couching with beads, but I have done a lot of couching and very much enjoy it. There's actually somebody at H&H gave me, oh, hold on, I'm sitting really weird. Oh God. No, why? That didn't work. Oh, my leg was about to go asleep. Somebody at H&H gave me this really beautiful yarn sample, and I would love to do like a garment that has the yarn just couched over the whole thing, blah, 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 like in just weird swirly kind of looks. I probably would do like the sewing machine version of couching, where you just zigzag stitch over rather than hand couching it all down. Originally, I thought I would hand couch it, but then I would probably want to make it a giant circle skirt, so that would turn it into like a 12-year project. It could be one of my travel projects, actually. Because there wouldn't really be any rhyme or reason to it. I could just, kind of like my freehand running stitch one, I could just kind of take the yarn wherever I wanted. But I already want to do EPP as my next travel embroidery project. My lists are always too long. Just way too long. I hear the puppy. Linky, do you want to come here and be cute? We always have to have a moment of puppy time. Silence. No more trotty paws. High fan noise. Sounds like the laptop is overheating. It is, because it's running OBS. OBS is a lot of work for my laptop to run. Hi, Bubby, come here. Okay, there he is. Hello. Hold on. Let me switch back to other camera so everyone can see you. Hello. It's puppy time. You are so sweet. What you been doing? Oh, thank you. You're just gonna lick my glasses. Oh, the big yawns. How's puppy doing? Well, good timing. Here he is. He's doing great. Oh, thank you, Mr. Stinky Breath. Yo, I can't like fully read every single comment, but sometimes I get like the general sense of a thread of a conversation that's going on here, and this federal cat thing is cracking me up. Let me see how far up in the chat I am. Ooh, not too far. That's okay. What is EPP? English paper piecing. It's this patchworking, I guess you could call it, method where you're hand sewing multiple shapes together. Am I explaining this well? You like hand sew shapes together by first putting them around usually like a cardboard or a thin paper form. So like hexagons are a really common one to do. And so you put like two edges of a hexagon together and you do a little whip stitch down that edge, and then you can fold it up, and now you have two hexagons connected. And you keep doing that and you keep doing that, and you add more and more and more and more. And so you create this like really beautiful patchwork, and then you pull all the papers out if you want. Some people leave them in. Yeah, so it's like a method of hand sewn patchworking. And usually I think the point is that you're doing more complex shapes. Like if you were just gonna put squares together, it kind of begs the question of like, why are you hand sewing that? You could just do that on a machine. Granted, some people just like hand sewing, so they would do EPP regardless of shape, just to enjoy a bit of hand sewing. You can do it in your lap, it can take a lot of time, it's enjoyable for that reason. But I think the general concept is like when you're putting hexagons together or more complex shapes, trying to sew that on a sewing machine would be, I'm not gonna say impossible, but really difficult. So by hand sewing it all together, you can get like this really complex shape, quilt, or piece of patchwork. And my lovely friend Shannon at Shannon Makes has some great videos on EPP if you wanna. Ooh, my stomach just made a very loud growl, although I'm sure you couldn't hear that. She has some great videos on that. Your freehand running stitch is a form of kanta. Yeah, it's also technically like a form of sashiko. It's like, you could say it's inspired by a lot of different things because so many different cultures have a running stitch embroidery style somewhere in their culture. Couched in panels. Yeah, see, if I did the couching thing, I would probably do, let's be real, a giant circle skirt. We've reached the point where my stomach is going to start making noise and I'm going to start lightly burping all the way through this. But I would probably start by cutting out like the 4 quarters of the circle skirt so that the piece of fabric I'm using isn't too big, and then just like finish the edges enough that it's not going to fray while I worked on it. And then I would just do like one at a time for however long it took me and then sew the garment together. So it's an option. Just, you know, so many projects. I'm working on finishing a crocheted turtle. That's fun. Tell me about your mug. This is by an artist named Catherine, I want to say it's pronounced Fehu. Remembering off the top of my head, I believe she is in Bulgaria. It is just somebody that I happened to find on Instagram, and she does a lot of these dragon scale stuff. And then like paired with the glazes that she uses, they're just, ooh, they're stunningly beautiful. She also, I have another mug by her as well. It's a pumpkin mug and it's very, very cute. So Catherine Fehu, F-E-H-U. I love it. It's one of my like actual art piece mugs because let's be real, the majority of my mugs I got from places like World Market because they have lots of cute mugs. I talked about this in a video on my second channel. Art I Didn't Make is the name of the video. Are you working on the mosaics dress? I am. What breed is your doggy? He is an Australian Shepherd, a mini. They come in teacup, mini, and full sizes. Just finished my first hexagon quilt. Awesome. Doing cross stitch with you in Poland. Yeah, hexagon quilt is so much easier by hand. It does seem that way. I'm trying to imagine how you would do it on a sewing machine, and my brain isn't wrapping around it. So I think doing it by hand is the way easier method. I have all the kit to do timbre embroidery, but at the moment I'm teaching myself to knit socks. That's fun. I started doing EPP without the papers. Cool. There's several different methods of how to do it. I'm working on spinning wool embroidery thread for Tour de Fleece. That's cool. The new capybara mug. Yeah, my capybara mug is giving me joy. Teacup sheepdogs must be for our miniature sheep, right? It would be hilarious seeing the teacup shepherds out there with actual sheep getting trampled on, so I guess it wouldn't be hilarious. Oh, Lord. Oh, yeah, that just reminded me of it. So pardon. Something in my throat. So a lot of you have asked about Discord, if I would ever start a Discord for viewers. And as I said recently, I don't know ever, but at this moment, no, I would not, because I don't have the mental energy to upkeep a Discord for viewers. However, someone else did. Somebody started a Discord group for viewers. If you guys would like that form of community, if you're interested in being able to talk to each other and stuff. So that link is in the description of this live stream. I will not be there. I am not monitoring it. I am not responsible for what happens in it. This is why I'm not starting one myself, is you're already, as any form of content creator, responsible for a lot of social areas, and I cannot take on the responsibility of another social area at this time. So I am not at all responsible for what goes on in this Discord, but because so many people have shown interest in it, I am just saying there is one now. It is linked down below if that is something that is interesting to you, just to be able to have a bit more community with other people who watch the stitchery videos. Oh God, my thread is doing weird things, which you do not want when you're doing French knots. Don't do that. Okay. Saved. Oh, let me go back to our split screen, yeah. There we go. Though I should probably like zoom in some more. I don't know, I move so much when I sew that I never want to zoom in too much, or like I'll just end up off screen pretty dang quickly. If I ever do live streams while sewing on the Beauty and the Beast thing, I could zoom in a lot more because the frame is, no, actually I take that back. It's like I can't like move where I'm sewing in the frame, but let's be real, I do move the frame when I'm sewing. Like as soon as I'm like, oh, this isn't like the best angle, I'll just shift the entire frame, so it probably still wouldn't work that great. I'm making a hammock for my guinea pigs. I love that. What a delight. I was wondering if I could get Link to sleep in a hammock. I shouldn't say get, like what's the point of like forcing your animals into doing something that'll be cute if they don't want to. I was wondering if he would be interested in sleeping in a hammock because I saw, I don't know, a reel or something on Instagram where someone had made like a hammock under their desk, and I think it was a golden retriever that just loved getting up and sleeping in that. You never know with Link what he's actually gonna want to sleep in, because like he doesn't like dog beds. As I said, I think last time, he doesn't like sleeping on the rug that we put on the floor, so now he moves specifically off the rug. You never really know with him. He claimed his spot on one of our couches and like made a little nest on the back of that. And that's his place now, but like we didn't ask him to do that. We didn't encourage that. But it would be adorable if he would sleep in a hammock. Guinea pigs in a hammock feels like it is just straight up dopamine inducing. Just finished a project this morning. An excuse to start a new one. Yay, Audrey, start a new project. I just made a split side skirt according to your videos and I love it. That's so exciting. It's been a little while since I've done like the split side garments, although like granted, this skirt is a split side skirt. But like it's been a while since I've done videos on it or anything because quite honestly, I kind of felt like I explored that as much as it could be explored. Like how many more renditions are there? I think I made as many as I'm interested in making. But then I get messages still or comments from people saying like they finally tried making one and it's always so exciting. It really is, in my opinion, just an easier way to make a skirt and to ensure that it's going to fit you for a while instead of like, I don't know, I think this is often my thing with putting in zippers is it's not even necessarily that like putting in a zipper is hard. Like, yes, I do personally struggle with that a little bit, but it's also like, if I'm putting in a zipper, I have to really fit this garment. It has to fit within a fairly close measurement, or it's too tight and you can't close it and it's uncomfortable, or it's too loose and it's gapey and it's weird. And it just is so much easier, in my opinion, or for me personally, to make a skirt in the split side style and not have to worry about that. So, good for you. I'm working on trying to wake up. Wake up! I put my dog in a hammock once. When I put him down, he vomited. Oh no. See, this is why I don't think it would be a good idea for Link. He still like hates car rides and vomits on those sometimes. He doesn't like anything where his feet are not stable. So like every chair we have in the house, if it spins or rocks, he won't go in it, or he'll like jump in and immediately jump back out. Like the chair in my studio rocks. It's a rocking chair. And so he won't sleep in it. He sleeps in the chair in my office because it is just stable. But even the one we just put in the guest bedroom spins, and so he won't sleep in it. He is very anti-movement. He just does not like anything where his little paws are not firmly on something solid. So I don't think he would do well with a hammock. My daughter is in the kitchen baking a loaf of potato bread. Ooh, I've never tried to make potato bread at home. That probably, yeah, I imagine it does smell amazing. I did a split side dress with a matching coat. That's so fun. Dresses with matching coats just always take me back to like well, I guess it was several decades, 40s, 50s, 60s, when like that was such a thing to have like this entirely matching outfit. It's such a cool look. I haven't worn a skirt since 2000 when I was 15. Yeah, I definitely had a very anti-skirt period following my childhood because we were not a completely skirt-wearing family, but we were required to wear skirts to church. So I definitely had a period of like, no more of that. I need a break from that. And I will say, in all fairness, this is something that I've discovered about my wardrobe and has altered what I'm sewing now. I think sewing skirts was a really good way for me to get into sewing because they are significantly easier, kind of than anything else, in my opinion. Like shorts, pants, you gotta figure out the whole crotch seam thing. And then anything bodice, you're having to figure out the boobs, the sleeves, all of that. So skirts, I just really think, are like the simplest, generally speaking, form of garment you can sew. So I think it was a very good thing for me to start sewing after sewing for a few years and, you know, wearing my hand-sewn, handmade, whatever, wardrobe. I've now discovered that I actually don't like skirts very much. Not because of what they are, but because of what they aren't, I guess. I've just discovered that I personally prefer dresses because I am a very lazy dresser. I like to be wearing the fewest articles of clothing possible. So if I can put on one thing, that's the best for me, which is why I'm so into dresses. I like to just get up in the morning and put on the one thing. So I don't really reach for my skirts because then it's like, well, now I have to find a shirt that goes with this. And that already is just more energy than I usually want to put into getting dressed. So this is why you don't really see me making skirts anymore. I have a lot of ideas like the patchwork project that I want to do next that I think 2 years ago I would have done a skirt. And now I know if you do a skirt, you're not going to wear that as much. So now I'm like, you have to actually turn it into a dress, draft a bodice to go with it, make it all one piece so you can just throw that on because otherwise you won't wear it enough. So it's interesting when you start sewing your own stuff, discovering what you actually genuinely are most likely to wear. It has been an interesting few years of exploration, not only learning to sew and learning what I like to sew, but also learning what I genuinely like to wear. All the blue is done. Huzzah! Just the white left now, which is just these little thin rims that go all the way around the butterfly. These are not hard to sew on, but you do have to be careful that none of your pieces get too thin, because then if you try to stick the fringe knot through the center and the piece of felt is too skinny, you can end up just like separating the felt, ripping that piece off rather than securing the whole thing. I would love to make a split side skirt, but I wouldn't like the back part to be tied at least. But I don't like having a bow at the front. Sorry, my brain is processing what that comment means. You definitely don't have to do a bow. Like this version right here has no sash and no bow at all. It closes with, let me get that out of the way. It closes with hook and eye. So the sides overlap. This is the back of the skirt that goes around to the front. Let me dig up more here without throwing my needle on the ground. Okay, bit of show and tell. So this waistband right here, bloop, 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 is the back of the skirt. It encloses the full waist and it closes with a hook and bar, and then there's also just like a snap there. So this is not adjustable in the moment. This is not adjustable like I'm going to put this on in the morning and my weight might fluctuate by the afternoon. This is adjustable like right now my waist is a certain size and 6 months from now it might be half an inch different, in which case I can just cut these off and change the location of them. It's a very quick hand stitching thing. So that's something that I think I got several sort of comments and thoughts on that with various split side skirts that I've made. The style, the general concept of the split sides allows for you to decide how adjustable you want the skirt to be. So if you need a skirt that is going to adjust in the course of the day when you are wearing it, then you want to do something either with elastic right here in the front. That's something that a lot of people have done. If you don't like the look of an elastic waist skirt, you can make a split side skirt that has that nice, smooth, hard waistline and just put the elastic here in the front where it's going to be hidden. Or you can do the lacing there, or you can put like a series of snaps, a series of hooks. You can do a bunch of things to make it adjustable quickly while you're wearing that thing. And then your top layer, generally you would want it to be a sash thin, because a sash is like one of the most adjustable things in the world. You can just adjust it as you go. The other version of adjustability is this is adjustable over time. My weight doesn't necessarily fluctuate in the day, it fluctuates over months, or I might gain weight in the future, or I might lose weight in the future, and I want to still be able to wear this garment. In which case, this is what I do with most of mine, because I recognize that like I've gained weight in the last 2 years. I've added like an inch to my waist. So I don't personally at this point in my life fluctuate much in a day. You have the option to make an adjustable skirt adjust throughout the day. I personally tend to make mine adjustable long term. So I go ahead and put just like one closure thing that works for me now. And if in a year from now I've gained another inch on my waist, I can just move those things. So that is the two different kind of forms of the adjustable split waist skirt. And when you're doing it more long-term adjustable, which is what I did here, this right here is the front and it just hooks at the sides. It hooks onto the back piece. So there's no sash, there's no bow, there's no anything like that. It's a very clean, smooth waistline, which is what I wanted on this piece because I don't need like a sash distracting from all of the mosaic tiles and everything. That just means that I would have to cut off and re-sew on those hook and bars if my size changed. So it is not necessarily great for adjusting in the moment. Yeah, we all get this. Various styles. But if you don't want the sash, you have options like that. It just kind of depends on how much your size is fluctuating on a day-to-day basis and how quickly adjustable you're trying to make your split side skirt. How's my coffee going? It's about the time when I need to start switching to water. The what to wear with this is the entire reason for laying out a couple outfits the night before. Yeah, that's what I used to do in college. That was what my mom would do with us growing up, usually for Sunday church. Like Saturday night, she would decide what all of us were wearing because, you know, she had 7 kids and that's a lot to handle on a Sunday morning when you're trying to get them all out of door on time. So I kind of learned that from her. And then in college, I was that kind of person. I wanted zero thought to go into my getting up process. And there was one time I was very proud of this. My like from bed to class routine was already quick, but there was one time where either my alarm didn't go off or I slept through it or something. And I genuinely, because I looked at the time, got from my bed to my seat at my first class in 5 minutes. Dressed, and with my teeth brushed. Not much else had happened, but that had happened. I was lucky that it happened to be a class that was like 2 buildings over from my dorm room, so it wasn't like having to trek all the way across campus. But yeah, I was able to do that because I already had an outfit laying out. I would do that every night. I would decide what I was wearing the next day and go ahead and lay it out because, yeah, I did not have the time or the brain space. I preferred sleep over everything. I preferred to get as much sleep as possible in college. I did not pull all-nighters or do crazy things very much in college. So yeah, laying it out was very helpful. And now I don't have to do that as much, or really ever. I do it if I ever have a background job. I decide on my clothing and ahead of time and lay it all out. But since I'm not like having to leave the house anymore, I don't really have to choose my outfits in advance. But it is like, the reality is that most of the time in the morning, I go to my, not even closet, I go to the pile of half dirty clothes on my chair and I will put on whichever one is fastest and easiest, which I think is why I'm also getting into jumpsuits right now, because again, same thing, one garment that covers everything. Easy as possible. And this is why I also want to start being more conscious of the fabrics that I use, specifically how see-through they are. There are several garments I've made with fabrics that are just see-through enough that you need to be wearing like nude undergarments. And some of them I really, really like, and I want to wear them more often, but like, I'm not going to change undergarments in the morning. It ain't happening. So that means I have to like plan ahead the night before when I shower that like tomorrow I want to wear that thing, so let me put on a nude pair of underwear, and that doesn't happen that often. So now I'm like, you gotta stop making things in like slightly see-through fabrics, or like line them if you do, because I don't even want to have to like put thought into what color of underwear I'm wearing. It's not where I want my brain space to go. It's not something I personally enjoy. I helped my sister Frankenstein your split-side skirt and dress patterns. That's so cool. Buckets. I didn't start wearing skirts again until I retired. I have a bunch of plain colored t-shirts and fancy colored skirts. That's fun. That's a really fun wardrobe choice. I was always so bad at buying just like simple plain colored tops, and then I never really got into making them, but like that's a fun wardrobe that I like the idea of. And like t-shirts are so nice and comfortable, and then you get that flowiness of the skirt around you. And yeah, mix and match everything. Then it's just so easy to be like, which bright colored wonderful skirt do you want to wear today? And then the top can just be a really easy, simple choice to go with it. I love that. You can also do a belt buckle on one side of the strap. Yep, that's another option. There are genuinely so many options, and it's been great to see other people experiment with them, because like we reached a point where I was like, I don't need to be making more of these. I don't want to have to make one to show every single style. And it was kind of around the time that like other people started making them, and I was like, great, you guys make the other styles, show that off. There's so many different variations you can do. Like it really is something you could explore and customize and do exactly to what you prefer to wear and what you prefer to sew. And I've loved seeing more and more people do that. I've been wondering if something interesting could be done with buttonhole elastic on a split side skirt. Probably. I think a lot of interesting things can be done with buttonhole elastic. I was happy to find some of that and just like keep it there for when I want to think about it. I originally, don't tell me to do this now. I still kind of want to, but I don't want to that much anymore. I originally wanted to do an exploration of set-in sleeves, drafting them, etc. But like, I prefer to make things that are actually usable. Well, I say that. I do a lot of explorations. If I have to make an entire sleeve, it's like that might as well be on a garment. So my idea was that I was going to make a sleeveless dress with probably the buttons on the dress and the buttonhole elastic on the sleeves, but just like a bunch of pearl buttons along the sleeve line all the way around, and then make a ton of different styles of sleeves to practice self-drafting all of these different styles. And you could just button on all the different sleeves. I don't strongly want to do this anymore. No, namely because I don't think it's a garment that I would wear. It's a fun exploration, but like I'm being more honest with myself, and I don't think it's something I would actually wear. Question, do you ever feel like someone is going to laugh at you behind your back? I'm on YouTube. People laugh at me straight to my face. They don't just laugh, they just insult you straight to your face in the comments. But like, why does that matter? Genuinely, like, why does it matter what they think? Here's the thing. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that like the opinions of other people don't bother me at times. But I will say what tends to bother me is not that they have a negative opinion of me, but rather that they are comfortable loudly expressing that negative opinion without giving any thought to how it might affect somebody. Like negative comments, I have a whole script about this. But like rude negative comments, and I say comments because I'm online, but this applies to in real life as well, whether you're imagining them or whether they actually happen. It's more bothersome to my brain personally, and I think this is actually true of a lot of people, because we are reminded of how rude and mean and cruel other people can be. And we're reminded of the fact that we are surrounded in people who are willing to be like that. And like, that's a hard reality to constantly face, that there are people in the world who are comfortable and okay with, and even maybe take glee in making somebody else feel bad. It's hard to be faced with that reality constantly. I think it is actually one of the harder things about being a content creator, is that you are faced with that reality constantly, that those people are out there in the world. And I don't really have advice on how to get over that, because I am still trying to get over that. Like, I don't know how to get over the fact that you will be reminded of that constantly, whether you're on the internet or off the internet. It's sad. But if what is bothering you is genuinely somebody having a negative opinion about you, I'm not sure I have great advice about that either, because that just never has bothered me. I'm like, why? Why would I care? Unless it's somebody you genuinely like look up to and care about their opinion of. If it's a stranger, then who cares? Like, there are so many human beings in the world, and whatever you do, however you look, whatever you wear, however you talk, no matter who you are, every single little thing about you, somebody out in the world would have something negative to say about. Or somebody would say that's cringe, or somebody would laugh about it. Somebody wouldn't like that. And that is true of every single little detail of who you are. Like, that's kind of a sad reality, but somehow when you make it bigger for some reason that like makes it better for me, that is the reality. It just is the reality. And you can't care about all that. So don't care about all of that. You know? Like, why do all these strangers matter? Why does it matter if somebody's laughing behind your back? I don't know. People are gonna laugh about various things or say mean things, and like that's more of a reflection of who that person is than who you are. Also though, if you really want to wear, because I think this was in reference to like wearing a specific thing, if you want to wear a specific thing, then you should do it, because I guarantee that there is somebody else who also wishes they could wear that thing, who also wants to do that. And yes, maybe somebody will giggle at you or not like your outfit or say something mean. That might happen because, again, with all the billions of people in the world, somebody's going to have a negative opinion. But also, you might be the person that inspires somebody else to be daring and to be brave and to do what they want to do and to wear the thing that's going to make them happy. You might be that inspiration for somebody else, and that's a really cool thing to be. So I think, I don't know, like if you can, you just kind of have to shrink the part of your brain that cares about what the negative people will think and enlarge the part of your brain that says, I might be a boost for somebody else. Somebody might see me wearing this and go, oh my God, I feel less alone now. I feel more emboldened now. I've never seen somebody of that gender, of that age, of that body type, whatever it is, wearing that thing. And so I felt like I couldn't, but now I have seen that. And so now I feel like I can. And like that's the kind of confidence and joy that we want to spread in the world. So if you are able to focus more on that, then do that. Focus more on that. You might be the thing that brightens somebody's day or brings them some joy or helps them feel more confident about themselves, feel more seen. And that's so much more important than somebody mean laughing at you or saying something negative. Yeah? Do your set-in sleeves exploration in patches, then send them all to Ash Bentley and let her make something weird out of them. With a bunch of arms sticking out. Oh my God. Yeah, for the person who only wants one thing to put on in the morning, button on sleeves sound like it might be a bit much. Exactly. The dress would always be sleeveless. I also don't like buttons, even if they're there. I think I saw a dress that was kind of like this in some random Instagram reel years ago now, and that's what kind of inspired the idea. And it's one of those things that I'm like, that's a great idea, but it is not the right idea for you personally, so maybe not. Question, how is the doodle art going? It's going well. Where did I put the one? Here, I'll show you the one that I just started yesterday, worked on this morning. We went very primary colors on it. Oh, let me show you here. That's much better. Ha ha ha, camera. Very kindergarten colors, but I thought it was fun. This was also I was doing one that was very quick and sloppy and didn't have a lot of thought behind it, because the one before it was this, which took a lot of time. I kind of worked on it one strand at a time. It was a fun idea and I had fun doing it, but this one was very slow and everything, so it's been fun to switch to a more just sloppy one for today. I think I'm gonna add some like shadows to this, maybe some highlights, and then that'll be done. But how far through are we? We're almost halfway through the book. This camera angle is weird. Yeah, so that's what's left. It's a little less than half that we're through, and those are all the ones that I've done. Very much still enjoying the doodling. It is quite fun. I just won Thread Chicken. 3 virtual cheers for you, and by virtual I mean I'm not going to actually cheer, but imagine it. I also compliment anything that catches my eye. Yeah. I want to get better at complimenting people in public. That's one of the things that like my brain freezes up on. It's one of like the social interactions that my brain does really weird things about. It's so difficult to convince myself to have that form of social interaction. But like every time somebody compliments me on my outfit, it brightens my day. So I'm like, you should do it. There's so many times when I'm like, oh my God, that woman is just wearing the cutest outfit in the world. I should tell her. And it's a very specific and weird social block in my brain that makes it extremely hard for me to actually say that out loud. But it's one that I want to work on because like, it just brightens people's day to hear that they're wearing something cute. And you know what? I do get a lot of compliments, and that's not me being like braggy, I get compliments, but when I wear my handmade outfits out, I get a lot of compliments on them, and I think it is just that. It is because they catch people's eye because they're different. And people are excited to see something different. And I really hope that those people
The ghosts, y'all. The ghosts. They are coming for my mic today. It's the other half of the mic now, but again, it had full battery. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Let me go change it. I'll be right back.
Ta-da! Y'all get A pluses. A pluses all around on the alerting. That was good. I saw the quick messages. I saw the giant emojis and red X's. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into this. I might just have to very specifically change the batteries right before a live stream. Because they both, I don't know. Sometimes I think the bars are still full, but then like they don't shrink at the same rate, if that makes sense. So like maybe I started and it immediately went down to 2 and then it just throws the rest. I'll change the batteries right before next time. But good job all around on the alerting. You nailed it. Under half a minute this time. Working together as a team, y'all, to overcome those redonkulous tech issues. The sound of silence again. Woohoo. Oh, Lord. Okay, anyway, we're back at it, y'all, back at it. Should probably wrap this up soon. I am almost done. We got 3 more pieces here and lots of chatting. Have you considered embroidering one of your doodles? Not necessarily, because I just have too many embroidery projects already in my head, like so many. Have you ever thought about putting your doodles on a garment? I think that's the thing I'd be more interested in doing, is getting like a fabric printed with one of my doodle designs. But to do that, I would have to figure out how to like get it really well scanned in, because otherwise you can just like see the lines of stuff. Like usually hand-drawn stuff is kind of redone graphically before it's put on fabric so that you don't have the little variations of actual markers and pencils and stuff like that. Anyway. I've been wanting to dress extra and very 1800s cottagecore, but couldn't find or afford the clothes I want. Confidence to start making the clothes I wish for. Exactly, you make them yourself. I mean, this was such a huge thing for me. I really did want, granted, as I talked about, I kind of learned that I don't like skirts now, but I wanted these big, full circle skirts. And I remember finding one, I don't know, in probably like an H&M or something, if I'm remembering correctly, many, many years ago, prior to me starting to sew. And like there was one in like the clearance rack, and it was the beautiful like blue and white flowers, which is why it caught my eye. But it was like a full circle skirt, and it was one size too small for me. And there was not anything else like it in the store. It was so like specific of a style. And I was like, where did this come from and why is it here? And it's like, if I want those, I'm just gonna have to make them myself. That is quite often just the reality, is that you just have to make it yourself. Yeah. Love the doodle art, thank you. I'm always so worried I'll make people uncomfortable if I say something in reference to complimenting people. Yes, this is the thing that my brain tells me. And I know it is largely a lie, because I know that most people, like, sure, every once in a while, you might compliment somebody and they might be made uncomfortable. I think a good rule of thumb is to compliment things that are not about the person themselves. Like complimenting somebody's outfit, it is likely, in most cases, a choice that they made, especially if it's like a standout cool outfit. That's a choice that they made to acquire that outfit and to put it on today. So it's pretty high odds that they would love to be complimented on that. Also, like somebody's hair style, not necessarily their hair, that is just the hair that grew out of their head and is the hair that they have always had and like they can't do anything about. I think complimenting people on what they look like can be a little more risky and is a little bit more of something that we don't necessarily need to comment on in a positive or negative way with a stranger. Like, you don't really need a stranger to comment on your body in either direction. A close friend, sure. Somebody you know, sure. But a stranger, like, we don't need to be commenting in either direction on people's bodies, but commenting on the choices they made, the garment they chose to wear, the shoes they chose to put with that outfit, the purse that they brought, the cute way that they did their hair today, the way that they chose to do their makeup. Somebody said, I love complimenting people's eyelashes, like the fake ones can be so interesting. Then you're complimenting the choices that somebody decided to make. And I think that's a lot better to compliment. I think it's a lot safer to compliment. And I think the odds of somebody being uncomfortable with that are pretty low. Maybe it would happen, but I think they're pretty low. And I am aware of all of that. Like, I just said it because I'm aware of it, but still in the moment, my brain will be like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't tell them. Don't say it out loud. Don't do it. What if it makes them uncomfortable? And I'm like, it won't make them uncomfortable. They chose to wear that adorable outfit. They're probably really happy with it and would love to hear that somebody else liked it. And then the other side of my brain is still like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't say anything. Don't do it. It's a very weird brain thing. Can you do a quick current progress on the mosaics before you're done, please? Yeah, I can give you a little tour at the very end here. This is the last one for anybody who has joined us since the beginning. This is the last one I'm doing right now. It's the last butterfly, the last animal. After this, the skirt is going on hold while I do other projects and give myself a break from this. But after this, when I go back to sewing it, I will be sewing foliage and background stuff, plants, flowers, leaves. It's all gonna be stuff like that. So yeah, I can give you a little bit of a tour, but the reason that I'm wrapping this up and putting it on hold is so that I can go ahead and put out the video about it. So that will be coming out sooner rather than later, you know, sooner, like within the next 2 months instead of within the next 2 years. Yay! And with these thin pieces, rather than doing like French knots on the edges and corners, I do them right in the center because they're too thin to do them on the edges. I'm a shoe noticer. I love that, yeah. There's so many cute shoes out there in the world, and as somebody who doesn't wear a lot of cute shoes because I struggle to find shoes that are comfortable to me, I so appreciate other people's cute shoes. One of the things I love and I notice is when people wear ace glasses. Yeah, see, glasses are like a choice. People would probably love a compliment on their glasses choice. How do you feel when you get a compliment? Obviously good. Like when people compliment my outfits, I'm like, thank you so much. Love to hear that somebody else liked them. So like that's the silly thing about the brain hang up is I'm like, I know I enjoyed hearing that you liked my outfit, so why wouldn't somebody else? When somebody compliments my appearance, I'm just like, okay, I guess, thanks, whatever. And by somebody, I mean like a stranger. Again, not somebody like my husband. I just think that the way that I look is the least interesting thing about me. I think the way that most people look is kind of the least interesting thing about them. Or like, you kind of hope it is, right? Like, aren't our personalities and our brains, the things that we know and that we love, so much more interesting than what we look like? Oh, I'm playing thread chicken now. Not really, but when you're doing French knots, you can't get too close to the end of your thread because you have to be able to wrap it around like that still. I am also starting to get very hungry. I'm very much a shoe enthusiast. I have over 50 pairs. That's fun. I wanted to be a shoe enthusiast because I do really love the look of different shoes. And I always wanted fancy and fun and colorful shoes, but it was one of those things where you have to face the reality of who you are as a person, and who I am is someone whose feet hate shoes. So there was a point where I had to be like, you can't wear these because like your feet are so destroyed by anything. My feet can be destroyed by almost any shoe. They are weak. And then it was like, well, you can't have a bunch of shoes for no reason. I did like, prior to kind of making this choice and accepting it, I bought like 3 pairs of shoes from American Duchess, and they are so cute, and I do love them, and I think I've worn them like twice. Because the reality is, if I have to walk more than 20 steps, my feet are like, and all the skin is gone and they're uncomfortable. And that probably means I need to just break them in, but like my feet can't even handle breaking in shoes without disintegrating themselves. We're gonna trim this piece down because it is now too big because of where I placed this, which is fine. So yeah, I've let my love of shoes become an observation of other people's great shoe choices. And sometimes that's just what we gotta do. Question, where is Link? He's on the floor right over here at the moment, actually, because I can hear him scritchy scratching. We had a bit of a puppy time. I might be able to convince him to come up here one more time before we go. Still too big. American Duchess has amazing shoes. They do. They're so freaking cute. And I'm constantly tempted by them. But I am benefited by the fact that I don't leave the house much, so I don't have to wear shoes all that often. Well, I'm slightly benefited by that, but then also, like, I never break in shoes because I'm wearing them so rarely. I'm happy with that. Cool. Next adventure, Charlie learns to make shoes. Look, so I'm still a little bit mad at myself about this. Not really, in a light way. When I went to Chicago a couple months ago for the H&H conference and to see Evie and all that stuff, I had time while I was there. This is the reason I did the whole road trip, because I also had to go to Oklahoma for a family thing, and so I was trying to like just make it all into one big trip. So I was like, you have extra time, which is when what I ended up doing was going out to the little postcard cabin or getaway cabin or whatever it is, and just having like a little bit of a private refresher for myself kind of thing. Originally, what I was gonna do was go to the, I'm pretty sure it's just called the Chicago School of Shoemaking. I might be wrong about that. But it's a school for shoemaking in Chicago. It's like a woman-owned thing with this woman who has so much experience in shoemaking and stuff. And there was like an intro to shoemaking, I think it was like a 2 or 3 day class that lined up perfectly. It was like the conference would have ended, that would have started, that ended, I could have left for Oklahoma. It was so perfect. And I waffled. I waffled about whether I should do that or whether I should do something else or was that the right idea or should I blah, 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 blah. I just waffled about whether I wanted to sign up for this class until finally one day I was like, I think I'm done waffling. I want to sign up for the class. I want to go learn how to do shoemaking. Sorry, I keep sitting weird. And then I went to sign up for the class and it was full. So let this be a lesson unto you, because it was a lesson unto me. Don't waffle. If you're interested in something and excited about it, sign up for it. Pay for it, because then you've paid money for it, so you'll be forced to go. Only if your brain works that way. My brain works that way. If I paid money for it, then I'm like, well, now I have to do it. Yeah. So I was very excited about the prospect of that, even though I was waffling. And then I was very excited about the prospect of that when I finished waffling. Ah, dang it, this is not white, this is cream floss. Ugh. And then, yeah, I just waffled too long and it didn't happen. But now I know that the Chicago School of Shoemaking exists. So I know it exists. So I can potentially go there at some point in the future. Hey, look, I had a threaded needle in the white floss this whole time. Didn't notice it. Yeah. So I would love to go there at some point in the future and take one of their classes and learn shoemaking. I don't see shoemaking being something that I would like dive into and be like, from now on, I'm hand making all of my shoes, wahoo. But it is a skill that I would absolutely love to learn, which is true of most skills. But it's definitely higher on the list than some other things, I guess you could say, of skills I would love to learn. Don't waffle is like great advice, but I despair of being able to do it, right? It's one of those like, build a bridge and get over it. Stop it kind of advices where you're like, I'd love to not waffle. You can't just say don't do something though. It's always like the most unhelpful advice when people are like, just don't do that. And you're like, oh no, I had never thought of that. Really? I should just not do that? Gee. But I think that would be me as a psychiatrist, probably. I would just be like, stop it. Just stop it. I don't know how else to help you. I got into embroidery after watching your videos. Yay! Also taking a stained glass class next week. Ooh, the stained glass one was so fun. I want to do more stained glass very soon. I very much enjoyed that class. So I hope you enjoy it. I've been debating a pottery class, but they run weekly try-nights. That's fun. Pottery is also amazing. Highly recommend. Next adventure, Charlie wears shoes. Shocking, right? I do feel like it always weirdly stands out when I put on shoes with like my final products in videos, which I only ever do if I'm like, oh, this pair of shoes specifically would look really cute with it. And like genuinely, it makes it harder to film the final product. And it's so weird when I'm editing it because I'm used to like my footsteps being fairly quiet and not really noticeable on the footage. But then I'll drag the footage in and I can see in the sound that it's like jump, jump, jump from all of like the shoes on the hardwood floors. And I'm like, why is the sound all crazy? It's like, oh yeah, because you put on shoes. Shocker. Just be happy. Thanks, my depression is cured, right? Oh no, 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 don't. Every once in a while, a French knot almost goes nuts, and I've only had to cut the floss like twice so far. If you pull on it in just the right way, you can keep it from being fully ruined. I took a bonsai class. That's cool. There's also one, I want to do another round of like taking classes in the area kind of thing. Probably more towards the fall. I kind of want to do it now, but I think I'll wait until we get sort of past peak summer when I don't want to leave the house. But I found in the LA area, I think it would be like I haven't looked at it in a long time, but I think it was like a terrarium building class. And I was like, that would be a fun one, because that's something that like, it's very specific supplies that I don't have any of them yet. And I don't necessarily want to go out and buy a bunch of supplies for terrarium building and then only want to build one. I can't even think of one video where you wore shoes. I have those cute black spiderweb ones that I wear every once in a while when I make like a black dress. And people always go nuts over them, and I don't know if you can buy them anymore. One more piece, y'all. We're getting there. I have to decide if I'm gonna film the final product for this today, or if I don't feel like it, I might leave it for tomorrow. Because since I'm gonna wrap up the video right here, I need like a here's where we are final product footage. But that is kind of my least favorite stuff to film, y'all, if I'm being honest. Even though it usually only takes like 10 minutes, I blow it up in my head to be some huge thing, and then I'll put that as like the only thing on my to-do list for the day and then do it, and I'm like, that literally took half an hour. Go put more stuff on your to-do list, you idiot. I was waffling about if I should go to a plus-size fashion workshop and then decided yes, since I was spending so much time thinking about it. Yet that's the thing. If you're like waffling about something really hard, that means you weren't able to just let it go and be like, nah, never mind. If you're able to go, nah, never mind, then nah, never mind. You probably didn't care that much. But if you're like sitting there thinking about it constantly, it's probably because you actually really want to do that thing. So you should do that thing. Had a blast and sewed some of the best work I've ever done. Congrats. Good job. Right now, ooh, sorry, I just did a major tongue click. That was probably loud. Right now, I'm waffling about whether or not to try my hand at spinning my own yarn. Go for it. Spinning is like a pretty cheap thing to start from what I learned from Evie. Like you really just kind of need like the spindle and the wool itself. I would call it a low barrier to entry craft to try, which are kind of the easier ones to try. I live in very rural Oklahoma, and there are no cool classes to take around here. That is sad. That is the downside of living out in the middle of nowhere. Although I will say there are at least like online classes, like actual classes, not pre-filmed video tutorials, like classes that happen over Zoom where you can actually talk to people and stuff like that. So that might be an option. At least that kind of gives you like the live teacher and some sense of community, and like they're usually kept smaller, and you know, you can have sort of that same feeling. So for people who live far away from everything, or people who just aren't able to or don't want to leave the house, you kind of just have to dig around for them. There's more options out there on the internet than you might think at first thought. You just have to get good at finding them. The problem with being caught up in the chat is that then it moves as I'm reading it and my brain goes, huh, huh, huh. Making pancakes with blueberry syrup, ooh. I wanted pancakes last night and I made something healthier because I had already had dessert that day. Maybe not today, but I think tomorrow maybe I might succumb to the pancake desire. I love a good pancakes for dinner. So good. Spinning makes my brain go woo. Have you decided how you're doing the antennae for the butterflies? I think I am going to embroider them on at the very end, so it will have to be once I have fully finished tiling the skirt. Which granted, by then, I might be like, I don't care about that anymore, it looks fine. But if I do want to add the antennae, I think it would be embroidered over the tiles around it with like a stem stitch or something. Which I think would be cute, so I hope I do care about it. And I could go back, some of my birds have eyes, like they had big enough eyes that I was able to make them out of a tile, and some of them do not because it would have been too small. So I could also embroider eyes on the eyeless birds. Part of me thinks that will look weirder though. I don't know. It's easy to tear out if it looks weird, so low stakes. I had my first blueberries off my new blueberry bushes last week. That's exciting. I really want to plant some more stuff. I did throw some butternut squash. That's what I ended up making for dinner last night, is I roasted a butternut squash that had been in my kitchen for a while. I've never seen this happen with a melon because I think I just eat melon faster when I get it. But it's happened to me with butternut squash a couple times. If you've had one for a while and you open it up, the seeds inside will fully have sprouted and even grown like their first little starter leaves inside the butternut squash, which is insane to me. Plants are awesome that it can do that without any light and just from like eating itself. Which is kind of weird. But this one had done that. So I took all of the sprouts and went and put them in my potato pot because my potato pot is currently empty. And I'm excited to see if any of them sprout because I had a gorgeous butternut squash vine that I grew from the exact same method back in our first apartment in LA. And it was so wrapped around the rungs of the balcony that when I tried to get it off and then also move it to the next place, it died. And I was, I'm sorry, that was probably loud as well. I was very sad about that. So I'm really hoping that these sprout and grow because I love vining plants like pumpkins, watermelons, all the melons and squashes and stuff that vine. Oh, I love them. Y'all, we're done. Butterfly. That was the last of it. Let me pick up my tweezers. Hi, buddy. Are you going to pick them up for me? Hello. Do you want to come back up here? You have been requested. Butternut squashes last forever. Yeah, I know. You can leave one. Like, my potatoes will long have sprouted, and the butternut squash still looks perfectly fine. I'm here for it. I made it for live. Good job. Have you ever tried Swedish pancakes? Are those the same as Dutch baby pancakes? Because I've made those a lot. I used to make those a lot. They're probably different because they're not Dutch, they're Swedish. Although, let's be real, they're probably pretty similar. Oh, Lord. Can still eat the squash and the sprouts. Yeah. So like if your butternut squash has started sprouting on the inside, you can absolutely still eat it. It was still perfectly fine. I roasted it and it was delicious. And yeah, you could also just like eat the sprouts themselves if you're not in the mood to plant them. But I really want plants. I really do hope they grow. Yeah, so we're gonna wrap this up because I'm done with the sewing. I did say I'd give you a tour of the skirt. So you guys are getting a preview here. Let me move some things out of the way of what you will probably see in like a month, couple weeks, a month, something like that. Ebelskiver. I know what those are because of Great British Bake Off, the little round pancakes balls things. I believe we made those when I was a kid one time, actually. Okay, let's do a little tour. So, butterfly, wahoo. Butterfly, wahoo. Did you want more of commentary on them than this? Bird. Oh, see, that's how I did the eye. I did white and then I just did the French knot in black instead of in the matching color. So, bird. This is a rainbow lorikeet. He's got a friend, which is another rainbow lorikeet. Wanted to do one nice and spread out like that. We've got another butterfly. This is called an orange tip I can't say that. Colloquially? That's not its fancy scientific name. Here is my emerald swallowtail. Kind of had to take a lot of liberties with him. He was the most like color detailed one that I did, so it's an artist's rendition. Then we have, big boy here, a scarlet ibis. Love that one. We've got the yellow butterfly, which is what I was cutting out last time. Got him stitched on. Oh, I forgot my beetles. They're down here at the bottom. There's one of my beetles. I do not know the names of these, unfortunately. Where was my other beetle? They're both kind of down by the hem, so I think I missed it. Oh, there he is. Goodness. There's my other beetle. He's a little guy. And then finally, a pair of quetzals. Oh God, how do I fit them in the frame here? I'm going the wrong direction. There it is. A pair of resplendent quetzals. Ta-da! That's it, tore over. Okay. I think I need to go through and do a bit of dog hair removal from that before I actually take some photos of it and everything. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Glad you like it. Looks like the drone beetle from Animal Crossing. Where was it? It might have been when we were in the London Zoo. There was some time recently that I saw some bug and I was like, is the Animal Crossing bug? And Matt was like, oh God. Yay, Townhouse Books. I've been there. It was pretty. I liked it. With the odd-shaped pieces, how are you deciding where and how many knots to secure them? Vibes. Just going off vibes. Yeah, there's not really any sort of rule. It's just like, feels like it needs more knots. You know, if there's any sort of like corner of any kind, you stick a knot there. But otherwise, it's just like, how many does this feel like it needs? I do a lot of things off of just, how do I feel in the moment? I'm so excited for this project. I am too. I'm excited that it gets to go on pause for a little bit because the doing of the foliage is a little overwhelming in my brain. Like, I know how I'm gonna start, but I also have the knowledge that I have to fill the whole thing the next time I start working on this thing. And that's a lot, and it's a little overwhelming. So I'm happy that I found like a stopping place where I can put out this first video, because otherwise it would have ended up being another video from like covering years. And the beginning of it is on my old camera, and so I went to rewatch it and like add the next part and stuff, and I was like, oh God. It's still from like when my camera was struggling with autofocus and the auto lighting, and it's bad. So I just wanted to get it out so I can be like, nothing from my old camera, please. I need everything to be on the new camera that is better. Please. I love that you researched real wildlife and tried to portray them as well as you could. Yeah, I mean, starting with the birds, I was like, I can't just like put random birds here, namely because I can't like draw stuff like that. I need to be able to copy it. So I was like copying off of images. And then it's like, well, if you're going to do that with the birds, you might as well do it with everything else. So that's kind of my goal, is even with the foliage, it might get a little schmeary once I'm like literally filling in random areas, but I want to start with the foliage by doing real plants and doing them as accurately as possible. So I know I want to do Birds of Paradise, the flower, on there. And then I need to research some other stuff. This person, Grace, your question about Final Fantasy, I do not know the answer, but probably, because Quetzal is such a specific word. Are you going to do leaves and filler in between? Yeah, the whole thing is getting covered. The entire thing. Which is a lot. Oh, it's so big. It never seems as big when it's just like up here. I'm just like even if seeing it on the mannequin, it doesn't seem that big. But then every time I have to lay it out on the ground and see the full circle, I'm like, oh, it's really big. So I'm sure there will be many more live streams about it whenever I finally restart, which I don't know when that's gonna be. I have a lot of other things that are really exciting me right now, and I do want to do the things that are most exciting to me. You talked about a makers convention. What would you like to see at one? So much. We don't have time to go into it, quite honestly, right here. It's the kind of thing that I have spent hours thinking about, and I have so many ideas. And I do have a document where I have put all of those ideas down. But like, I have so many ideas for what I would consider a really cool one. But I do think I need to, I don't know, I'm still kind of acting in the back of my brain like I'm going to be the person that creates this someday, which I really don't think is a good idea. But I do want to go do some more research at other styles of convention. Like H&H was the first anything in that world that I'd been to, and that was technically not a convention. That was an industry trade show. So why is there salt on my table? So I really want to try going to some other things of various types and see how they run and what works and what doesn't work and what's exciting and what I like and what I don't. And granted, that's probably going to happen slowly because I can't travel all the time and those kind of things generally tire me out a bit. But somebody did just recommend to me the Philadelphia Miniatura? A miniatures convention in Philadelphia, which you'd be like, why? You don't do miniatures? Well, you know what? I'm getting fascinated by them. They're really cute and it'd be a fun thing to try and yeah. And this is like a big one that actually has classes and stuff. So that is something I might try to go to this year, and that'll probably be it for this year. But, yeah. I forgot where I was going with that. What camera do you use now? Sort of just an updated version of the one I used before. It's a Canon R6 Mark II. Yeah. I didn't want to go too far off because I know how to use a Canon and I didn't really feel like having to learn to use something new. Lots of different orchids. Yeah, orchids would be a great idea, and you can do those in so many different colors. Although I know a lot of orchids are like... Actually, I don't know. I don't know much about orchids, so I shouldn't say that. I was going to say they're like purposely bred or dyed to be all the various colors, so I would want to do the ones that are more natural. But also I might be making that up in my head. I don't know that that's actually true. I'm going to enjoy watching how you deal with making the birds stand out from the foliage. That's the thing, is there's a lot of empty space on this still right now. So there's definitely places where I can do the same method that I've already been doing, which is like a complete drawing of something, and that drawing just gets transferred onto the skirt, which is fairly easy. It's when I start running out of the open space and I have to start filling all the weird spaces in between. That's gonna be the harder part, because then, like, I don't know, I have a feeling it'll get to a place where there will be holes that I will just fill with some green. And it doesn't have to be anything. It'll just look like leaves and foliage because I will fill it with green. And then up higher on the skirt, it'll get filled with sky. So I kind of need like an edge where the sky meets the foliage in various places. It's a lot of like design stuff that I don't really want to think too hard about right now, which is why I'm taking a break. Lots of love for miniatures. Yeah, like, it's so fun. Like, one, because they're tiny and cute, but I also like that it's a general craft that includes so many different crafts within it. There are elements of sculpting, of sewing, of embroidery. Like, there's all of these various skills that you use within the world of miniatures. And I think crafts like that are so interesting because for those of us who are interested in learning a lot of different skills, it's like, well, here's one thing where you can combine a bunch of those skills that you learned and probably have to learn new skills too, all in the pursuit of this one final product. And I love stuff that is a combination like that. It's really exciting to me. We are going to wrap this up now. Do you realize how dangerous it is to go see miniatures? I do. I do realize how dangerous it is. But it's early enough right now that I don't think I would go nuts buying stuff because I wouldn't know specifically what I want to make in the world of miniatures. So I wouldn't have like a specific shopping list in my head. And I am more interested in making stuff myself rather than buying stuff. So I think now is kind of the safest time for me to go. Because like it might inspire me a little bit, but I'm not going to be like, oh, I need all of this yet because I haven't gotten into it yet, you know? Okay. Yes, we are just going to wrap this up now because my stomach is really empty and hungry. Did we all drink water today? Drink water. You made lace for a doll's house. Yeah, see, like lace making because you're making a doll's house instead of like, I'm just going to learn lace making. It's now like, I'm going to learn lace making in miniature style so that I can make a doll's house. Oh, I don't know. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Everybody say bye. See you next time, whenever that might be. I don't know. I do enjoy live streaming, so heck, like I might start this patchwork project and then be like, I'm just sitting here cutting stuff out for hours. Let's live stream. Or there might be a bit of a break. I don't know. Genuinely don't know. I like that this is an area that is unplanned and I can do it whenever I feel like it. And like there's no specificity or pressure or schedule to it at all. So thank you all for being here. Thanks for all the lovely chats. Sorry about all the stretches of silence. Oh, last time it was, well, not last time, the time before that it was blurry. I feel like we have to have technical difficulties on every other live stream, just to remind you that I have no idea what I'm doing. Grand. Everybody have a lovely day. Enjoy your crafts, or have a lovely night. Some of you are probably going to bed now. Enjoy your crafts. Enjoy a snack. Enjoy it all. Bye.